Started? Okay. Call to order the meeting of Pflugerville Parks and Rec Commission, May 15th at 7:01. Citizens communication. The commission welcomes comment on parks and recreation items. Public comment that is made on an item that is not on the published agenda will only be heard by the commission. No form, action, discussion, or comment will be made. Each person providing public comment will be limited to 3 minutes and will be asked to state his or her name and address for the public record. Is there anyone here that would like to speak? Okay, no one? We'll move on to the approval of minutes. Did everybody get a chance to read the minutes that were sent out? And there's a copy on the table. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 4, discuss only, 4A. Discussion regarding director's update, including information about project status updates, upcoming special events and staffing.
Okay, well, you get the Jeff show again instead of Shane. So my apologies. Now, I will say when Shane's gone, we have packed meetings. So I'm not sure if he does that on purpose. We've got a lot to get to tonight. So we'll get through the director's report fairly quickly. Wanted to first cover Eggpalooza, which was several weeks ago. But since the last time we spoke, we had an incredible event. We had about 600 attendees, and I will just say that's according to, I'll actually let Jonathan, once he gets settled, come in here. That's according to some Placer data. Just between all of us here, Placer, our AI system that we use to track attendance for things, has been a little weird. We actually think it was considerably more than 1,600 attendees. We're still trying to figure out some of that. Staff that were there, I think we can all pretty comfortably say we think it was fairly close to double maybe what we've had in the past. There was a lot of families, a lot of kids got to get out there and search for some eggs. And we saw around an hour dwell time. We do think there was a lot of folks that were kind of crossing over and doing multiple egg hunts.
There
They
were
really wanted
definitely
those
some
eggs.
people doing multiple egg hunts. But we had 22,000 eggs, so we were set and ready to go for them.
We have more than enough for everybody. You want to take it away?
Yeah.
You settled in?
Where'd you stop at?
We had 22,000 eggs.
Perfect. Right on target then. We also had 20 different staff members. Juniors guys played a big role in that. We also had some aquatic staff and some camp staff who were there to help us out as well. We had 3 face painters, a small army of face painters. They were cranking out some face painting. And then 1 giant bunny, as you'll see in the next photo.
Oh, look at that guy.
We also had golden eggs. The golden eggs got you a Pflugerville branded fuzzy bunny that you could take home with you. You couldn't take the Easter bunny with you, but you could take our bunny with you.
And we wanted to highlight our staff, which Jonathan just mentioned. We had a lot of staff help out with that. They're truly what make this a special event. Even Shane, who got a hug. There's families have stuff come up, so they're scheduled for a time. If they're scheduled to be there at 2 p.m., they may show up a little late. But those egg hunts, if it's at 2 p.m., it's happening at 2. And so they may miss their time. If families come in, our staff got them in, did a little egg hunt for them, made sure that every single kid that came in here got to hunt eggs. And I don't think that that's something that gets highlighted that often. I know everyone in this room knows how incredible the Parks and Recreation staff are. We also had aquatic staff out there. We had lifeguards helping to put eggs out for kids. And
That's actually who's right there on the right is some of our seasonal aquatic staff.
yep, you got park rangers getting away from their regular duties and putting eggs out. It's a true team effort. Gabby Bays and the events team did a great job putting that together and then finding ways to get people involved, other staff involved. They make that a really special program for the community.
So we have a lot coming up in the month of May. Something that's not on here, but just so you know, May is also Water Safety Month, both nationally and here in Pflugerville. So if you need any tips on how to make, if you have a pool at home, or if you're planning on visiting a water hole this summer to cool off on days like today, reach out to us. We have some water safety tips we can share. The seniors are going out and about doing a lot of different stuff. If you're wondering what a sugar scrub is, I don't know, but my wife said it will make my skin look way better. So there's D&D club, there's esports going on, and then it'll all kind of wrap up right around the next Parks Commission meeting with the Juneteenth celebration at Rock the Block featuring the Peterson brothers. So that'll be downtown Pflugerville that Friday the 20th from 7 to 9 p.m.
Oh wait, downtown for Rock the Block?
Yes,
8 to 10. Music in the Park is 7 to 9.
8 to
I
10.
almost got that too. 8 to 10.
8 to 10, downtown
There it is,
Pflugerville. Don't miss it.
If you didn't hear, that's 8 to 10.
8 to 10.
Are you sure? 8 to 10?
Pretty sure.
We'll send
Downtown?
We'll send an email out. Downtown, 8 to 10.
AM, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna have a long day. Any questions on our upcoming events and programs?
I do want to point out real quick on that picture. Juniors guys went to a career day. Which school was it?
Hidden Lake Elementary.
Hidden Lake Elementary. And they got to talk to the kids about what it's like to be a Parks and Rec professional. We are an industry where people don't normally study for our industry. They kind of land in our industry. And so I think juniors guys did a great job and hopefully created some future parks professionals for us.
They also did some community engagement on playgrounds too. They heard some good things about new playgrounds that are close to their house. So
That'll get
that's
their
always
attention.
fun. That's who we're going for anyways. So when we hear from them that they like their new playground, we know we did a good job. Some really not all the way, but some fun details on the Trail Capital of Texas designation. I think we've mentioned to y'all before that not only are we calling ourselves the Trail Capital of Texas, but we're asking Texas to call us the Trail Capital of Texas. So we had a bill filed by Cheryl Cole on the House side and Sarah Eckhart on the Senate side to actually designate Pflugerville as the Trail Capital of Texas. That has already passed the Texas House and Senate, and so it's now just waiting on the governor's signature. And I wanted to point this out that Shane wore a blazer. So not only did it's impressive that he testified to the House Committee on Culture, Recreation, and Tourism, but it's a lot more impressive that the city manager's office got him to wear a nice shirt. But we're really excited about that. Once that gets signed, we'll obviously be doing some special outreach and marketing communication to let our city know. We've obviously called ourselves the Trail Capital of Texas for a year or 2 years at this point. But now the entire state has to refer to us that way. So we're really excited about that. So some ongoing and future park projects. You really have heard a lot about these, but I just want to make sure that we're updating you as we go. Some of these are CIP, some of these are not. So as part of our current just kind of operational budget project is Cambridge Estates Park. So this is going to be, it's currently a 2 to 5, a very small 2 to 5 playground. And it's a 18-year-old playground, something around there. But it has a newer shade canopy over it. And so while that shade is newer and in great shape, it's a little bit shorter. So we had to actually expand. We had been asked in all of our future playground improvements to try to expand away from just a 2 to 5 playscape, because those tend to be really small. When you get a 5 to 12 playscape out there, I've got a 4-year-old, he plays on the 5 to 12 playgrounds. So they really want to see something that gets the older kids involved too. Unfortunately, with that shade canopy, we're pretty limited on how high we can go. So our way to improve this area, kind of expand the reach, expand the age group that's programmed for here. We've got a newer, nicer, a little bit bigger playscape for the 2 to 5s, but we've seen a lot of success with the older kids in our nature play amenities. Falcon Point, Central Park received some nature play, and when I've been out there, I think when our staff has been out there, you see the older kids really engaging on those little boulders they can climb on. They can kind of hang out and sit and stuff like that. So this playground's footprint is currently just that space that is covered by that shade canopy. So we're expanding that out. That doesn't fully horseshoe, but it kind of curves. The trail does, and so we're kind of hugging that curve of the trail with the expanded play area with some nature play. We're really excited about that. So that'll get under construction in August. So post summer, they'll get out there and start putting that new playground out there. We also have another neighborhood park, Barleyfield Park, which is located in the Falcon Point subdivision. It's pretty old, not a lot of shade there other than what's around it. And so it's going to get a new 5 to 12, new 2 to 5, and then a new set of swings. And obviously we'll put new mulch and everything out there. And that one's coming up a lot sooner. So that one is scheduled for installation starting later this month.
Also, I just received a new parts like 2 days ago.
Yep,
Yeah,
so
that
now
big
people
stone.
know.
Yeah, that was put in, yes, that looks good.
Now people know. That's the identifier. At Gillen Creek Park, we're doing several improvements. So if y'all will remember, this project was sort of half done, and then we realized that being in the floodplain, we were going to have to do some additional studies. So we had about an 8 to 9 month period where we had some engineers working on a floodplain study for this property. So see if I can move this here. This area right here and the swing area are already done. So those have been, that was the existing footprint. So anything that's existing, we're just, making an improvement, exchanging out what was there and putting something new. That can be done without a study. But all of this trail connectivity, all this landscaping here, and then this additional 5 to 12 playground, and then what's inside the pool, I'll talk about shortly. Since it was all new, it all had to be studied to make sure that we're mitigating any flood impacts. So if the water rises that high, we're not putting something there that's going to cause some adverse effects downstream. So that's done. That floodplain study's done. We just got approval from council on Tuesday night to get all of this trail work done, this ADA accessibility. It will include, and we've worked really closely with Dave, and you know how much he loves trees. Multiply that by 1,000 for how much he loves Big Shady, which is, if y'all have not heard this, it's the largest pecan tree in Travis County.
There it is.
Right there. Yep. Big pecan energy. So this, what's in the root zone for Big Shady will actually not be a concrete trail. That's going to be a composite boardwalk, so that it doesn't impact any of the roots of that tree and cause any damage to Big Shady. We love it very much. And so not only will have all these trail connections, it'll also connect over here to make it more accessible and closer to our ADA parking spaces. But we're also doing some work inside of the pool complex. So when we did all of these improvements inside the pool, we now have this large space here that's unprogrammed. It's just grass right now. So what we're going to do is put artificial turf all through here, and it's a permeable turf. So when kids get on there, it's actually made for dogs to use the bathroom on it and it to just go through. We hope that's not happening within the pool. But what will be happening is kids will be going over there while they just got out of the pool and they're wet. So that's not going to pool. It's a special artificial turf that'll be good for a wet environment. And then we're going to have, 50 feet by 40 feet?
Yeah, it's 40 by 50.
Of shade. And so there's going to be a lot more shade. Gillen Creek Pool, if you've been out there, there's not a lot of shade out there. Our camp kids use this. It's used for swim meets. It's used by the community in a lot of different ways. And so we're going to be providing them a lot more shade opportunity with some picnic tables and places for seating underneath that shade.
So where did the Gaga Ball pit go to?
So the Gaga Ball pit that's right here is
Yeah.
being moved here.
Ah, okay,
We're not getting rid of it.
Good.
And they're actually programming around it, so it'll have a concrete trail around it. And then there'll be some seating, there'll be some additional seating within here. Some other trail amenities, you got your dog bags and everything out there. So we're excited about that. That's been a long process. I think we originally got council approval on this in December of 2023. And so we're ready to get moving. Now I will say, because of how heavily this is used over the summer, construction for this is not going to start until the end of summer so that it mitigates some of the impact on camp and everything else that's going out there.
The
But
pool improvements will start.
the pool improvements are going to be ASAP because this area is not used. So even if they're doing this while the pool's open, we're going to be able to finish this out.
Is there going to be an impact to the Deutschenfest?
So that's the other thing is I had a meeting today with our contractor, and we're going to time it so that they start as soon as summer camp ends, and they are guaranteed to be done by Deutschenfest. This is a project y'all heard about fairly recently, but our Murchison Park, which is one of our CIP projects as part of the bond, which is also in the Falcon Point neighborhood on the right along Tranquility Lane. Construction for that is going to, or actually already began at the beginning of May. So this is new trails. You can see all this red here are new trails. It's going to have a new playground and pavilion. And then it's going to have some kind of pollinator gardens and things up on the north side of it. And this was part of our 2013 undeveloped park master plan. So I think we had 12 or 13 parks that were originally part of that. Murchison and Kelly Lane are the last two, and Piccadilly, but I think we had a discussion about Piccadilly during our CIP that it's kind of on hold because of drainage improvements that need to be made. So as far as all the parks that we actually can complete from that plan in 2013, that we can complete now, they will be all done after we do Kelly Lane. So Kelly Lane is another project that we're currently in the bidding phase of. So we're working for or looking for a contractor to do this for us. So this is right along Kelly Lane. So hopefully some of this will be done by the time this park opens. But we've got additional parking. I think it's about 25 or 30 parking spots. Our first outdoor pickleball courts within our system. So there'll be 3 pickleball courts. A new playground here. There'll be a small restroom and then a pavilion right next to the pickleball. And then there'll be some concrete trail kind of weaving in and out of here. And there's future phases. So there's a trail extension here that's not part of this phase. And then this is a nature trail that's not currently part of this phase.
Is the pickleball going to be, are they going to have lights on the pickleball courts?
There are lights.
Okay.
Yes, sir. 1849 Park, Phase 1B and 2. So if y'all remember, we're doing 2 separate projects at 1849 at the same time. Phase 1B scheduled for completion around July or August. That is, if you'll remember, that's lighting the football fields, which currently doesn't have lights, and then adding about 400 additional parking spaces for soccer and for the football fields. So we've had a lot of parking issues at 1849 for soccer in particular. We should not have that problem once this is completed. And then phase 2 is what you'll see here, which is baseball field, softball field, baseball field, and an event lawn with this is what we're calling the Puffield House, which I think there's probably already a Puffield House somewhere in Pflugerville, so we may have to come up with a new name. But this is the concession stand. There's a room in here for staff or for umpires to be able to utilize, and then it's got our restrooms kind of all centrally located. And then, so phase 2, this has been a really hefty project because if you've been out to football and you looked out here, this area right here is about 40 to 45 feet lower than this area right here. So all these fields are actually going to be tiered, which is going to create a really cool user experience. When you're on this field here, all the parents are going to be sitting up a little higher. It's almost like stadium seating, which is going to be pretty unique. But to get to this point was a lot of work. There's a lot of groundwork for the contractor. And so phase 2 is scheduled for completion end of 2025 so that we're opening that up for spring baseball and softball. And then our upcoming projects, the last playground improvement that we'll have for this fiscal year is the Lake Pflugerville playground, right around the beach area. We also are going to start getting to the design phase of our destination play space, which we've talked to you all a little bit about. And then the Wells Point Park soccer fields will receive some lighting this year. And then, of course, we're always doing trail improvements, trying to fill trail gaps. The Gilliland project, the trail portion of that's considered a trail improvement. So doing things like that where there's ADA accessibility needs, trail gaps, things like that we'll be doing throughout this fiscal year. And this picture has absolutely nothing to do with this slide, but I had to use this picture of base at Slice of Pflugerville. It was my favorite one from it's so great. So our commission subcommittee meetings, we're going to start meeting soon. We've got our pollinator, tree care, and dark sky subcommittees. We have been asked to sort of mimic what our city council does on our subcommittee meetings, which is they meet during the day online. And so for everyone who's a member of one of these committees, we will work with each of you to figure out what that best time is. Is it end of the day? Is it a lunchtime meeting? But all of our council subcommittees meet during the day, during the week. And it just is easier on staff. It's easier to kind of find a time that works rather than picking evenings where folks don't have something going on, and kind of reduces the ask. So hopefully, they may even meet a little bit more often if there's certain projects that those subcommittees are working on. But whoever your staff liaison is for that subcommittee will get in contact with you if you're on one of those, and start finding times that work in regular intervals during the day.
Can I ask something about the dark sky committee? I know we talked, subcommittee, I know we talked about it, about the purpose of it and all that, but I recently read something about birds, that they migrate primarily in dark.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was a fascinating, I thought, ooh, yeah, there were some birds that were struggling to migrate because it was so lit up, they couldn't get their bearings.
Interesting.
I know, I'd never seen that before. Look it up.
Okay.
Look it up, yeah.
Well, we'll have to talk about that in the
Yeah.
Dark Sky Subcommittee. Any questions about that? Okay. That's all I have.
Everyone buckle up. We've got 3 items with Jonathan, the rec superintendent. First one, Slice of Pflugerville after action. Slice of Pflugerville was on April 27th in downtown Pflugerville. It was a great time. I wanted to just highlight kind of the event. We have an incredible photographer that comes out and grabs photos for us, so this is our chance to kind of get to show them off too. We did have a touch-a-truck in our kids zone. You can see the Parks and Rec Department as well as Public Works provided some. And then Pflugerville, Travis County ESD 2 was out there with their truck. So the kids got to make everything go wee-woo. Lots of fun. Kids zone, we also had balloon twisters, making balloon animals. We had face painters in the kids zone, and then we had some inflatables as well. So the kids were having a blast. We also had a food zone. So we are really happy with how the food zone turned out. By the way, if any of you attended and have feedback for us during these slides, feel free to toss out those pieces of improvement. We tried to expand the footprint and reduce the number of people waiting in line. Feel like we were pretty successful on that. The Bite Passport program. So last year we had 950, and we got pretty close to selling out. I think we sold like 840 of those 950. This year, about 2 hours before the event ended, we sold out of the 950 that we had. So next year, 1,500 maybe Bite Passports. So it's great to see that program still growing. We had 19 vendors, which really helped us out. 7 sweet, 9 savory, and 3 drink vendors. We're still getting survey results rolling in, but of the ones who've completed it, we were rated a 5 out of 5 by the festival goers. And 88% of the vendors said, quote, "can't wait for next year." the Bike Passport program is also a competition, and so we had our winners that we handed out. This was the trophy on the right side that they can put up in their place of business. So judge's choice was Kebab Pro. Savory division, the first place winner there was Elsie's Egg Rolls, which is actually who's accepting that award there. And then the sweets division, it was Donut Envy. We had passive art installations, so you can see the butterfly with the music notes there, a great photo opportunity. We also had caricature artists walking around doing free caricatures of people. And then there was also a flower truck that was there, so people could come by and grab flowers just to add a little color to their day. We also had some incredible community performances. Lots of color, lots of life, lots of vibrancy in the community performances. And a lot of them were interactive. You can see people were really excited to get to experience those cultures. That's really what this is about, is experiencing other cultures in a very interactive way. We also had artisan vendors. You can see Up Partners there, and then some of our other vendors. They had a great time. It was a little hot, but we tried our best. Requested the AC to be turned down for them. We did outreach during this, so our comms department purchased what's on the left there is called a water monster. So we handed out free water. We also did the cups again this year, and we gave those to our downtown distilleries and breweries, and so they handed out their drinks in those Slice of Pflugerville cups. And then shout out to the Parks Foundation there on the right. They were there selling T-shirts and gathering feedback on what people want to see in our park system.
And Jennifer's not here to talk about it, but after this, I talked to the Park Foundation, and they did fantastic. I mean, I think they got some donations and they sold some shirts, but they were really happy with the amount of people they talked to try to get the word out about the Park Foundation. That's truly their first step in fundraising for projects, is just having people know that they exist.
Yeah.
And then we had a flower vendor allow them to pass out free flowers, so people kind of came there maybe for Park Foundation or maybe came there for flowers, but then they
Made
mixed and
connection,
so it was great for them.
The water monster was awesome.
Yeah. Did you
was
use
a
it?
lot- Absolutely.
Yeah.
I must have drank a gallon out of it.
It's going to be a staple at a lot of our events
Yeah.
now.
That
So
thing is massive, because I think it was still half full when we were finished.
it looks like a
Right?
giant
30
coffee
minutes to
cup.
drain.
Yeah, it looks like a giant coffee cup when you see it. It has a white top on it, and then it's a blue cup. It reminds me of like a hotel coffee cup.
I was impressed with the amount of engagement with the several different city tables, the Explore Pflugerville and the Parks Department. And
Yeah, there was also a strategic plan table there as well, which is what they're working on for council right now to kind of guide the next 4 years. They were there doing outreach. Explore Pflugerville was there doing outreach, handing out free swag, trying to increase the tourism in Pflugerville. So
I would
there
say
was
the most entertaining part of the day for me was going and reading what people wrote on the strategic plan.
Oh.
Yeah.
They had their little stickers and they put it up. It's pretty great.
did you tell-
and then
did
of
you
course
tell
the
them that?
main stage
I
performances.
didn't have to. That wasn't me.
The main stage performances, we had some incredible artists perform, and then of course one of my favorites here, the Spin Doctors. They did an awesome show. If you didn't hear, there was a small problem. About 3 minutes into the show, the generator quit on us.
Blew up is another word. That
Yeah.
they can use.
Belched black smoke and ceased to live. So we had about a 30-minute delay, maybe 45 minutes, where they drove as quick as they could and got us a new generator. The Spin Doctors were incredible about it. They agreed to still play their performance time. The picture of Baze throwing the shirt, that was actually what we did on stage. There was a really funny moment where Shane got up and announced there was a delay, and then once we knew the new generator was coming, he got back up on stage and someone yelled, "It's the guy with bad news!" And he was like, "Yes, but I have good news this time." So But
Didn't
it,
that happen at Dorchen Fest one year? The generator went-
Yes.
It just reminded me of a really dark time.
yes,
The generators just stopped, the music can't, oh
Yeah,
yeah.
we've pretty well decided that double generators is probably gonna be the way to go.
100%, yeah.
Yep.
yeah, the Deutschen
Back
Fest
up.
one, they had to bring one from Coda that weekend.
Yep. I was there. Okay.
So yeah, any feedback on Slice of Pflugerville? Anything you want to see in next year's Slice of Pflugerville?
So the food vendors was a much improved. over last
Yes. And we're hoping to continue to grow that beyond just the 19 that we had. So if you ever visit a restaurant or a food truck and you're like, man, this food's delicious, grab a card, take a picture, send it to us. We'd love to know about them so we can reach out to them.
So how many servings did each vendor actually end up approximately serving? I mean, if there are 19, I didn't go to all, I got full. before
Yeah,
I got home.
you could have made a family meal out of it technically.
$10.
So- yeah, for $10, it was pretty incredible. They were asked to prepare 1,000 samples.
Okay,
So
one for every passport.
exactly. So next year, if we go up to, let's say, 1,500 passports, we would then increase that and ask them to make sure they prepared 1,500. There will be a cap at some point where you can only make so much food, but no one has said stop yet, so we're going to keep going until they do. Awesome. Of course, the staff as well. So I don't want to forget juniors guys. They were out there late on Friday helping get everything set up and there early on Saturday. We also had Public Works there, PD was there, Emergency Operations, and then our rec staff was there too. We were selling T-shirts, bike passports, and just handing out a bunch of swag and having a good time.
Kanina, I'm pretty sure the kids can't read the sign that says meeting in progress. That's why they're playing hacky sack right out the door. They're doing it for about 20 minutes. Boom, boom.
A meeting in a rec.
It's a rec city.
So next up is discussion regarding Deutschen Fest. So what we're looking on for this item is some head nods. To give you a heads up, we went out to bid for the carnival rides. Last year we got an incredible deal. We switched to a new vendor and essentially got a first time participant discount from them, which was great. But we did not get that discount this year, which means it went over 50,000. So that process is we have to then go out to bid, and then that amount has to be approved by council. So it has not yet been approved by council, and the reason why is we need your help in figuring out which rides you would like to see at Deutschen Fest. So here are the options that were quoted from the company that won the bid. So they have a 42-foot Ferris wheel. They have a Sizzler, which is essentially a high-speed rotating ride. They have the Zoomer, which is a swing ride that kind of spins you out centrifuge style. They have the Mindwinder, which goes in a circle, but then the individual buckets also swing and spin.
And you control that turning around on the Mindwinder.
Yes, yeah. It's human powered on
Yeah.
the spinning, so you can go as quick or as slow as your
Decide
sibling
how
will
much
let
you
you.
want to vomit.
Yeah.
You
Do
get to
we have
select.
the right age group in this room right now? Decision? Because I'm like, I'm not going on any
I've
of
got
this.
a representative on who I can vote proxy for here. Yeah.
Thunder and Sizzler are too similar. These are the 24 we had this year, then there's a comparison, and then
Gotcha. So we also had the carousel and then the Apple Spin. So here's kind of a comparison of what we had in 2024. We do have a suggested list of rides. So once again, having the Ferris wheel. As Jeff mentioned with some of the rides and their placement, things may be a little different. We don't have as much space because the playgrounds are now in at Gilling Creek, but we're working on what that spacing looks like. So what we're suggesting this year, and we want to kind of get head nods from everybody, is once again having the Ferris wheel. That will probably actually be next. So if you're looking at the stage in Pfluger Park, directly across from the stage, as close as we can get to that tree line, will be the Ferris wheel. So you would technically be able to sit on the Ferris wheel and see the concert. You would kind of go up high and then come back down. So you would get to see the concert. Helps free up some space over on the Gilling Creek side. We're also suggesting the 30-foot carousel. Instead of the apple spinner this year, we are recommending the berry go-round, which are some cute little strawberries that spin around. It's kind of a younger kid ride. The Sizzler was a popular one. We're always trying to look for what the teens want. The Sizzler is one of the recommended teen rides.
Does the Sizzler go up and down like that? Or
I believe it does.
Around.
And around,
There's
or
like-
just,
Like 3 of them together that spin, and then the whole thing spins also.
gotcha.
And then we are also suggesting carnival games. So about 2 weeks ago, we went to the Youth Advisory Council, which is made up of teenagers within the city of Pflugerville. And so we actually talked to them to see what they would like to see. That's been a big part of our feedback every year at Deutschenfest. And like you said, we are the wrong demographic to choose what teens want to see. So we went and talked to them. One of their biggest requests was carnival games.
Yeah.
So I wanted to throw that out there. That's why
Can
this
see
is in there. They said they would love to have some carnival games. And then the Zoomer is also one of the suggested rides. The carnival games that we're looking at are basketball, duck pond, balloon store, which is the one where you throw the balloons at, or the darts at the balloons, and then a shooting range, and the prizes are included as a part of that.
Cool.
So does anyone have any feedback or thoughts on any of the rides?
Are all these rides and the carnival games gonna be at the, by the pool, except the Ferris wheel?
If we can fit it all, there may be
Yeah.
some adjustment that has to happen. So once it goes to council and council approves, so what council will be approving is a contract, a 3-year contract with this company, so that we don't have to go back to them every year for the next 3 years. And so in that 3-year contract, we have a list of all the rides that vendor can provide. And we can sub in and out as needed depending on the footprint, but they will actually come on site and measure and make sure what we're asking for fits. So we won't end up in a situation where they bring all these rides and then we can only fit half of them. It would be, they would come on site and tell us, hey, maybe the Sizzler doesn't fit with the Zoomer there, and they may recommend an alternate.
That's good.
Can you show the 2-year list?
Yeah.
So the teens recommended the carnival games, the Zoomer, and something else?
The Sizzler.
Sound like a steak.
Yeah.
The teens definitely don't know what Sizzler is.
No.
Sizzler.
That looks good.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
Head-
those are good
nodding
I
my-
like it.
I'm nodding my head, Jonathan.
Yeah, I agree with the
I
comment.
wish they.
Like
The-
apple seems to fit more than a berry,
Oh, you think the apple fits better than the berry?
just the theme.
I wish they had something along the lines of like little cowboy hats that like spun around, but we are at the mercy too of what I guess the carnival ride industry looks like. But we'll take a look at the apples versus the strawberries.
I'm imagining you as a child right now.
Yeah.
Cowboy hat.
I grew up in East Texas and we had a Jamboree and we had many of these rides.
Yeah.
The
The
Jamboree.
Jamboree.
I am what I am. A jamboree. That's cool.
Everyone's got their thing.
Okay,
What was the name of
so
the town? Yellow?
what?
What was the name of the town for?
It was Gilmer, Texas. Look it up. It's a good one.
Good football player comes out of there.
Yes. So we'll move forward then. We'll take these. They will go to the second meeting in May for council, or the first meeting in June, depending on working with finance on that. Next up is discuss and consider.
Yeah, let him.
Yeah. Item 5, discuss and consider. We have 3 items, 5A, 5B, and 5C. The first item is the action regarding the FY26 user fee schedule. And this is discuss and consider.
It's been really fun presenting to y'all. After this part, you will probably never let me present again. So I am so sorry. Buckle in. So every year we have to get our fee schedule approved. The way that process works is we are asked to take it to our commissions first to give y'all the first look at it. And then we will submit it to finance, and then finance puts it into the budget, which eventually council approves. What our fees are based on, a lot of it is what other local cities around us or what the county may charge for their facilities. Also, council and commission feedback. So throughout the year, as we hear from y'all, like, hey, this is too expensive, or I don't think this is expensive enough, we take that into consideration. We also have to balance cost recovery versus revenue generation. This probably does not surprise anyone, but most of our rec programs do not make money. It's really about how much of the money you're spending can you recover in that process. Each fee has its own kind of theory behind why it's priced the way it is and what cost recovery it's given, based on really what the community benefit is versus what the individual benefit is. So the things that are more community benefited are normally more subsidized than the things that have the individual benefits. So think a daddy-daughter dance versus a tournament at one of our sports complexes. Huge community benefit on one side and more of an individual benefit on the other side. And then also citizens versus non-citizens. The way our fee schedule works is non-citizens pay a 50% increase to what citizens pay for the facilities that the tax dollars are going to. So, I'm going to present these. If you have feedback or questions on why the fees are the way they are, please let me know so we can help answer those. So the first one on there is the Lake Pflugerville Pavilion full day. There is no change to that. There's also the Gillen Creek Pavilion full day. No change to that one either. We did, however, add rental blocks to both of those. So right now, if you rent the full day at the pavilion, you're getting 12 hours at the pavilion. What we see happen a lot is you don't really need 12 hours. You need an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours. And so to allow more people to get to experience that, because we do put up a sign that says this is reserved, we have added in rental blocks which will occur in 4-hour increments throughout that 12 hours. So this is a new fee. It's not one that's currently in our schedule, and that's for both Lake Pflugerville and Gillen Creek Pavilion. Next up is Windermere Clubhouse, Heritage Park, the Green Red Barn, and then Pfluger Grove full day. There are no changes to either of those 3 fees. Similar to above, we did add a rental block for Pfluger Grove. And then we do have a new fee. So Stonehill Pavilion is not currently one of the facilities that we rent. So that pavilion is right next to where the splash pad is at. The nature of aquatics is it's very volatile. And so what we've seen happen a little bit over the past year is Stonehill would go down because the chems were out of balance or there was an issue with the plumbing system. And then there were families showing up for birthday parties at this pavilion to a splash pad that they had no way of knowing if it was working at that time or not. So part of this is more than the money that we're going to make from it, is we will now have the contact information for those people to be able to intervene and have some good customer service and offer them another option. We would obviously refund them their money, but as you know, if you've ever talked to Shane about customer service, we go above and beyond just giving you your money back. So we're going to find them another place to do their birthday party. We're going to try and make it really special and win them back, but this will allow us to have that information. Also on here is the Finnig Soccer and Bowls Park. Neither of those have a fee changing.
I got a question about the Fluger Grove. Is that the picnic tables?
It is, yes.
Okay. Okay, at the park.
Next up is Wells Point. As Jeff said, we are making a lot of improvements. Last year we did the second phase of field improvements, and then we're also going to be adding lights out there. So we previously had the 11v11 non-peak and peak hours, the 7v7 non-peak and peak hours. But in this second phase of field improvements, they actually added 5v5 fields. So currently, because those were not in the last fee schedule, those fields currently don't have a charge. We still allocate them. We still make sure organizations are using them in a booked manner, but there's no current fee for that. And so we are adding a 5v5 non-peak and peak hours fee, as the other fields at Wells Point have.
So is that current now? Is that the way they're being charged? Is that the same fee? No change?
Yeah, no change. So for Wells Point, 11v11 and 7v7, that's their current charges for use of those.
Okay.
And you can see it steps down in price as you go from the bigger fields to the smaller fields.
Now, does this also include when they have a tournament out there per hour?
No, the tournament fee is a slightly different fee. For 1849 Park, so this did see some updated fees. So you'll see the soccer fields, those increased in fees. That was actually a request from council. We obviously have an incredible park at 1849 Park. And we spend a lot of money on making sure those fields get the right horticulture and mowing. And so because it's one of the premier athletic parks in the area, council feels that that should be at a higher premium than if you were to just go play in your neighbor's backyard. So we have increased these fees. We do a fee study for the athletic fields, but we were asked to not be the median, which is normally kind of what we shoot for. So this would put us about the 75 percentile of the cities around us.
What is considered peak hours, non-peak hours? for
Yeah,
example?
so peak hours is anything from when the park opens until 5 p.m. Right, Junior?
Non-peak.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's non-peak. And then peak hours is anything after 5 p.m. up until the park
On a
closes.
weekday.
Sorry, I want to ask about something, a couple minutes back there. What's the difference in quality between Wells Point and 1849?
They are very similar quality. 1849 just has different types of fields
Okay.
versus Wells Point, which is just soccer fields.
And the amenities are different around the field. So 1849 obviously has nicer,
Right.
newer restrooms,
Okay.
playgrounds,
Yeah. Okay.
but turf quality is very similar.
Okay.
And part of the renovations that we will eventually do at Wells Point will be, if you've been out there before, there's a, I don't even know what to call it, like a little meeting room type building. And so eventually that will be replaced with something nicer. And so those amenities will continue to try and catch up to 1849.
So I got a question on these 1849 baseball fields that aren't open yet,
Mm-hmm.
for example. Is that for practice times, $20 non-peak?
Yes,
Or
yes.
Is that
So
practice?
essentially, if you were practicing during the day, that would be the fee. And then if you're practicing
After 5.
it would be that $30 per hour. And then just a reminder too, all of our athletic fields are allocated, which means that you can't just come in and say, I would like to rent a field. Each of the fields has a 30-hour maximum limit of time on it. And so if say you need the field Mondays and Wednesdays, you are then taking some of those 30 hours, which means that once it hits the 30-hour mark, that field needs rest. That's when RS3 comes in. You'll see here in just a minute, we do have an over hours fee. which essentially helps pay for the additional maintenance that would come along with that field going beyond what that 30 hours it's allocated for.
That was a follow-up question on lining the fields. Is that also included bases or those kind of things, batting cages?
So there will be batting cages next to the fields on the baseball, softball side. It will include bases. It will not include the field lining. For soccer, football, and baseball, softball at any of our complexes, we leave that up to the organizations themselves. That way they can paint it however they need it, and it saves our guys time and the supplies that we would need to purchase to do that. So that is up to the
For
organizations.
baseball and softball, our staff will, so the base lengths will have, they'll be, what are they called? Put it in the ground. Like a plug. So we'll change, if they request a 60-foot
From
base
60
path,
to 90?
we can change that.
75, 90, got it.
Yep.
Okay,
But field maintenance and field lining, I've got that.
okay.
And then you'll see at the very bottom, that is the 1849 facility fee. So that we have updated. So essentially that is the 1849 tournament fee. So by paying that fee, you either get all of soccer, all of football, or all of baseball, softball.
So that includes all the fields? All the soccer fields, for example?
Yes.
That would be $1,000 per hour.
Yes, that's correct.
Are they doing that now?
We did have a tournament this last year. Yes, soccer tournament.
I know there's tournaments out there, but I didn't realize it says 75%. It's gone up 75%.
Yeah.
So it was.
Previously, we
it
were
was at
charging them
$250?
$250.
Okay. Wow.
Hot commodity,
Yeah.
a lot of money in soccer.
Per hour.
Well, there's a lot of money in tournaments in general.
Sure.
So,
You know how much we're competing with, like the North Metropolitan Park, just on the other side of 130? Like, is that, are we like losing out on tournaments to them at some point, or do we think we might now because I don't know what they charge?
Yeah.
Facility fee.
it's a little bit different too. Their facility, so for instance, they have way more, currently they have way more baseball, softball fields. But even once our baseball, softball fields are completed, they're going to be still a tournament facility because of the number of fields that they have. What we would probably see on baseball, softball is if a big tournament came to town, they would probably play some of their divisions at Northeast Metro, and they would maybe play some of their divisions at our facility.
Do you know what their facility charges per hour?
They are, I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but they are on the medium to the 50% to lower end of that bracket.
My goodness.
So this is the rest of the athletics and admin park reservation fees. So we do, like I said, have the over hours fee. So if you're going over that 30 hours allocated time, that's essentially 100% of that charge again. So if it's a peak hour, that would be $60 instead of the $30. Once again, that protects the investment that we've made in those fields, encourages our organizations to manage their schedules to protect those fields. We do also have field lights. This used to be a fee that was just for $18.49, but because we are adding field lights to Wells Point, and we will have baseball, softball lights, and the football field as part of phase 2, or I'm sorry,
Football fields as
Yeah.
part of phase 1B.
1B.
Yeah.
Football will be getting lights installed as part of 1B as well. So we've changed this to just a general field light fee for any of the lights that are used. And that's just passing on the utility bill. We have changed this previously. If an organization did not lock their fields, we were charging them $100 per instance of that happening. It's really important that those organizations are locking those fields. If you've ever, you can Google it, Several years ago, there was an organization who left their fields unlocked, and someone took like a truck out on it and did donuts on it.
Cedar Park.
Was it Cedar Park? So we take our locking of the facilities very seriously, and that is on the organizations. It's part of their agreement that they agree to lock those facilities when they leave. When you are spending, let's say, $30,000 on athletic fields, a $100 charge does not mean very much of anything to you at that point. So what we are implementing is an escalating progressive discipline type fee. So the first one is $100, the second one's $250, the third one is $500, the fourth one is $750, the fifth one is $1,000, and if you go past five, we will start looking at deducting hours from your allocation. So you may go from 30 hours then to being allocated 29 hours. Like I said, we take locking the facilities very, very seriously. If you remember, a couple months ago, we had copper theft at 1849. Those kind of things happen all the time, and we do not want gates being unlocked to be the reason why that happens.
Now, is that is that the main gate that was left unlocked, or was it to get to the complex?
That
Hey,
one, I think they probably actually just made their way around it. I don't know that it was.
Maybe we go up, driven up the side.
Cause I know that also happened in Round Rock.
Yeah.
They stole copper out of the light
Yeah,
poles.
that
and
one was not because the
transformers.
gate was left open, but it definitely makes it easier if you do leave a gate unopened for them to do those kind of things. And since then, we've put limestone blocks, which are very heavy, on top of those boxes, so that you would have to really want to do it, and you would probably make a lot of noise getting those off.
And currently at 1849, they can get in. You know, they're not behind gates. At Wells Point, once we put lights with copper wire, they will not be able to get through there with a vehicle because there are gates there,
Unless they're left unlocked.
unless they're left unlocked.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then we also have the scoreboard remote replacement. Right now, only football has scoreboards. We don't have any scoreboards on the soccer side. So we've updated this to include baseball and softball scoreboard remote replacements.
What does that mean? Remote?
So it's the remote that controls the
Okay.
scoreboard, the ball strikes, those kind of
Okay.
things. So
And that seems like a hefty fee. That does not pay for that remote.
no, it does
It's
not.
It's more than $500 for that remote.
There's
So when
a-
they rent those fields, they get the remote also?
yes.
Okay.
There's also the pavilion fee. Small note, this one is only applicable during the off season. While the teams are in season, part of their reservation of the fields is they get to use those pavilions as well. But during the off season, we wanted a way for if you wanted to have a birthday party or some kind of gathering, that you could still rent those pavilions so they're not just sitting empty the whole time. There's no change to that one. Excuse me. And then there's the facility rental deposit. So this is a new fee. In a way, we have only previously charged a rental deposit for the Green Red Barn facility. This matches that same setup, but it applies to any facility reserved. What we've found with our park rangers patrolling the parks while reservations are going on is that sometimes there are instances where groups are not following our park protocols. And currently, we don't really have a method to say like, hey, you really need to follow these other than the rangers just telling them. And so this deposit, as long as there was no damage and you followed all of our park rules, would be refunded to you after your rental. So this is only kept if you damage one of the facilities or break one of the rental policies. Once again, I apologize. This is only part one.
Could you go back to, do you have, go back to 1849?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, Lake Pflugerville. Do you have anything going on with the, like races, you know, triathlons, half marathons, 5Ks, 10Ks?
Yes,
On
that
others?
is in the, so I've moved the fees around a little bit so that they apply to the entire facility. So we moved 1849 kind of in this park reservation, but the permit fees are in the special events and permits section now.
So that would be different than if somebody wants to, like, for example, have a triathlon, January 1st, for example, out there at Lake Pflugerville. But they would not be renting the pavilion, that would be separate.
Right.
And they would also want to rent the pavilion, that'd be a separate charge.
Exactly.
But there's a fee for each runner that gets on the trail.
Correct.
And the same with other parks.
That's
Or
correct.
other trails, rather.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And once we get there, I'll tell you a little bit more about that too, because there is a change that we made to that. The current recreation center, because we have the Monarch coming online, there are no changes to our rec center fees right now. The aquatic fees are up next. So admission to Windermere, we updated these. Our aquatics team does a aquatic facility fee study. And so according to that fee study, we needed to raise our prices a little bit. Just so you know, this is a $1 increase from what it was last year. So I know 20% kind of means, I don't know, what does it mean? It's $1 per each of those items. Gillen Creek is the same way. It went up $1 per each of the admissions. Scott Mincer went up $2 per each admission. And then the table reservations had no change. We do half days and full days on those. And then the family season pass actually went down 20%. We found that we were on the higher end of that during our aquatics fee study. So sometimes it's not that we are raising the fees, it is that we are reducing them slightly.
Is there a family season pass for Gilliland Park? Or-
Yes,
okay.
so let me skip to that one real quick. So you can see the pool passes on this one. So lap swim, all those have stayed the same. But we do have the individual youth season pass, an individual adult season pass, and an individual senior and military season pass. Those did go up $10 each. That would be comparable to, like, if you were to go to, let's say, Typhoon, Texas. It's kind of a similar fee structure in that it's not the $400 you see above that for all the facilities, but that would get you in during that season. And then just to flip back over to it and cover it real quick, Windermere Pool previously didn't have its own rental fee. And so people were able to book that, but we did not have a fee that we could charge them for that. So we have added in the $150 Windermere Pool reservation fee. And then the only other change on this one is the swim practice lifeguards and the swim meet lifeguards. Those were previously $8 a piece. We do not pay staff $8 anymore. And so we have adjusted that to meet what we are actually paying staff now. So that's essentially passing that fee for the lifeguards that are required on to the person who is performing that swim meet.
So how many lanes are we talking? It says per lane per hour.
So this would be at Gillen Creek, so that's 5 lanes.
5 lanes.
Recreation programs, there were no changes to the recreation program fees. And then the special events and permits. So this is what covers things like Deutschenfest, Slice of Pflugerville, and then also our permitted events. So both city and permitted events. The gate fee, pretty much everything on this one stayed the same. The City of Austin temporary food permit, that is just something that we concierge and apply for those organizations. And then we just charge them whatever that fee was to just make sure we're square on it. The rental application, all that stayed the same. The event permit land use agreement, that one is approved by council. And so if an organization ever comes and says, I want to use all of Pfluger Park, we don't have in a similar Deutschenfest style setup, we do not have an option for that unless it goes to council and council approves a cost for that. what did change is the athletic permit. So instead of charging per race, we tried to make it a little bit more equitable. And so the athletic permit is just per event. Portable restrooms, we passed that cost on. The only change we made is we went to one for every 500 attendees.
What's included in the stage rental?
The stage and delivery, any sound, any of those kind of things would be up to the person who is renting them.
The setup and breakdown of the stage.
Mhm.
Delivery, okay.
Yeah, and Junior's crew with the help of Public Works delivers that stage to the location. There's one mistake on this. We changed this fee. So we used to charge a trail impact fee. That was essentially only charged to athletic runs. Ignore the 0 to 49 participants. What we've done now is we found that even during some bigger events, which were not runs, that they were still impacting the trail or impacting the park. So what we've done is we've just made this a single permitted event impact fee. So for every participant, whoever's renting it for whatever purpose will pay $1 per attendee. So for instance, if you were doing a run, it's a little cheaper actually, because right now we charge $2 per participant for a run. It would drop down to $1, but also if you were doing a permitted special event, it would be $1 per your estimated attendance. And that is billed afterwards, so we check what that attendance is.
Let's see if I got this straight. Okay, so it's $1 if you're on the trail, or $1 to be at Lake Pflugerville. Doesn't matter where.
Correct.
On the trail or anywhere?
If you're doing a special event, a permitted event.
Yes. Okay. Like, for example, that triathlon that I brought up.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be $1 per participant. That's not $1 per everyone who's there watching. It is only per the participants. And so it's essentially how many ever people you have signed up to run. And then this one is something new that's coming up. So in the next couple of months, y'all will be getting to see a mobile food unit policy and permit. So Parks and Rec, under the city ordinance, is in charge of permitting all food trucks on city property. So Shane specifically, it's listed as the Parks and Recreation Director, is in charge of saying yes and no. Obviously, with all the things that we're adding, such as baseball, softball has food truck spots, we have been working on a policy on the back end to be able to permit those. This set of the fees would not be going to council and getting approved unless that food policy is also, that mobile food unit policy is also approved. So this one is tentative upon approval of that policy.
So if I have the same food truck come out for my weekend sports at 1849, they would pay that annual fee? Or
That's correct. And so what it allows
or
us...
the per day, depending on how often.
Exactly. So if you were, let's say you were having a birthday party at Pfluger Grove, we will have a designated space in that park where that food truck could park. And so you would pay the, it says per year, but it's essentially $250 that food truck would pay once. And then for any event that they're out there, so let's say they're out there for a birthday party one weekend and a birthday party the next, we would charge them $25 for the first birthday party and $25 for the next one. This also does include long-term operations. What this does not include is the trucks sitting in the same place. The requirement from Austin Public Health is that the food trucks must be mobile. They can't sit in the same spot. You must be able to get in said truck or cart and be able to drive it away. So what this would be long-term operations, which would be set up with the food unit. So this would be, for example, if you wanted to have a hot dog truck vendor wanted to be at $18.49 for the entire summer. They would sign an agreement, essentially leasing that for the full year, and they would have to meet parameters such as being at the park when they've posted that they will be at the park, and those kind of things. So that fee is $250, same application fee, $1,200 deposit to make sure that if something happens, we have a way to recoup some of those costs. And then it would be $1,000 per month to rent that spot. And then electricity access, which our facilities such as baseball, softball will have. They will have small pedestals that those trucks can plug into. That would be $25. That says per year. So that would be the access fee for it essentially.
Is Kona Ice considered a food truck?
It is.
It is.
And this also, the permit and policy that we'll bring you would also cover things like carts. So if you've ever been to like Central Park in New York and you've seen like the hot dog, they're not food trucks, but they're like hand carts or bicycle carts. Those would also fit into this as long as they have the Austin Public Health permit and have been checked by Pflugerville, Travis County ESD2 and have received all their approvals.
And this doesn't apply to food trucks already on private property?
Correct. Yep. This is only for city property. And like I said, we're rolling out places in which those food trucks can apply to be, which is not something we currently have. It's kind of a one-time basis right now. If you wanted to be out at a park for a birthday party, we have to individually approve each one of those right now.
Interesting.
And then community services, there were no changes to the community service fees. This is a discuss and consider. I'm so
Exactly.
sorry for the long-winded.
That's all right. There's a lot to communicate.
That's a lot of information just went over.
Yeah.
And there's a vote coming up, so if you guys have any other questions or anything, let's speak up.
Got it all memorized?
There's a lot of stuff up there, man. Whoa. Okay, well, do we have a motion to approve the user fee schedule?
I'll make a motion to approve the FY '26 user fee schedule.
All in favor, say aye.
Get a second?
Is there a second?
Oh, do we have a second? Sorry.
I'll second.
Now, do we? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried. Wow, that's a lot of stuff there.
Like I said, y'all may never let me present again. So
No, you're doing great, man. We want you
As long
back.
as you handle all of that.
That's
All we have
exactly
to
the
do
way
is
I
say,
feel,
Go, team, go. Yeah.
Okay, next item up is item 5B. Discuss and consider action regarding the Old Town Park Master Plan.
It's been a while since we talked about this, but this is kind of our last step towards, we'll go to P&Z, I'll talk about it here shortly, then we'll go to council. But we work sessioned the Old Town Park Master Plan with our consulting team and with city council. And we do have some newer, at this point, members of our committee, so I'll sort of explain what this process has been. So the Pflugerville Old Town Park Master Plan, how did we get here? So we made a steering committee, and it was made up of the Planning and Zoning Commission, the Parks and Recreation Commission. This is the end of last year, so some of you may not have been part of this process. We had 4 workshop meetings in the fall and winter of 2024. So we met September, October, November, and December. And the steering committee's goals that they collectively came up with were to create an enduring and innovative master plan reflective of the unique Pflugerville culture, a vibrant and inclusive transformation of the original city center of the community, non-traditional park design that highlights the trail capital of Texas mindset, and a plan that can be flexibly phased to grow as funding allows. And so we lunch and learned this with City Council in February of 25 of this year. And then we took it to work session last month in April. So next steps from here, looking for approval of this plan tonight to go to the Planning and Zoning Commission for their approval, and then back to City Council for adoption of this master plan. So I'm actually going to skip ahead a little bit, just to give, how far am I going to skip ahead? Where's the map? Okay, maybe the map's out there. For those that maybe weren't in on this process, and I think we talked about this a little bit during the CIP discussion. So Old Town Park is one of, we don't know if it's the oldest, but one of our oldest parks within our system. It's right across the street from the historic water tower here in Pflugerville, which everyone is familiar with. Not so many people are familiar with Old Town Park. They don't really know it's there. They don't really go to the water tower. There's not any reason to currently. And so in looking at that site, now that the Pflugerville water tower, that water tower is decommissioned, those tanks that you see in this photo here are gone. It's just green space. And so City Council and the city wanted to look at programming this space in a really creative and innovative way that highlights this neighborhood, this space, and then sort of connects to the new downtown development and the old downtown, because this is right down the street. This is on 2nd Street, and then there's Hoops Avenue that bisects this park. And so you'll see our consulting team came across this quote on Facebook, actually, that water tower represents who we are and where we came from here in Pflugerville. So this was at one point the only water access, actually for a long time, the only water tower here in Pflugerville. It was right in the middle of town. We had a really extensive, for a 1 acre piece of property, we had a really extensive public engagement process. So we built, Junior's crew did a great job building this tiny water tower that you see that got to take a picture with its big brother. And so we carried that with us at every public engagement opportunity we went to. And to be honest with you, it was the most popular thing that we did. We had a lot of people coming up to take photos, and then we tried to intercept them and make sure that they interacted with us. Though I will say it showed me, and I've only been here for a little over a year, it showed me how much people, especially people that grew up here and are adults now, cared about this water tower in particular. Not necessarily the space, but they really loved the iconicness of this water tower. I guess some of the nostalgia. And so we really didn't have to pull anyone's arm too hard for them to engage in this process. But we had our consulting team and staff at Deutschenfest, at Rock the Block, and then we did an on-site neighborhood engagement so that we made sure, this is a 1 acre piece of property right in the middle of one of our oldest neighborhoods here in Pflugerville, and we wanted to make sure that those folks that live directly adjacent to the park had their voice heard as well. We also did an online survey that was open for about 2 months during this process. We got 120 responses from that. And I'll talk about why those 120, that doesn't seem like a super high number, but I'll talk a little bit about why that was a really important, those were really important 120 responses. But throughout this process, we had about 1,200 plus actual touch points. So for y'all will remember this number, Shane has said it a million times, we had about 30,000 touch points on our Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Master Plan, which is a ton. We've got departments across the country that are trying to emulate what we did because of how much public engagement we got. But we had 1,200 touch points on a 1 acre piece of property that we're master planning here, which we thought was really good. So our consulting teams, which were TBG Partners, which is a landscape architect firm, and then BRS Architecture, which is actually the architecture firm that's part of our recreation center design team, threw out some ideas for the public to kind of gain some inspiration on from local parks. So they had Kingsbury Commons, which is at Peace Park, Alliance Children's Garden, and Skyline Park at Easton Park. What's really cool about this is Alliance Children's Garden and Skyline Park were designed by TBG. And if you've visited either of those, those are absolutely incredible park spaces. They are not the typical playground you would see every day. But with that being said, most people liked the park they didn't design, which was Peace Park. And if you've been there, you know how important that's been to the city of Austin for a long time, and they did some recent upgrades over the last several years that folks really gravitate to and have become iconic in itself. And then one of the most important aspects of this project were what we do with the road, Hoops Street, that goes, I think it's Hoops Avenue actually, that goes right through these two parcels. So you see Old Town Park is on the right here, and then the water tower is on this piece of property to the left. And it's one thing to hear, we heard pretty overwhelmingly that we should just close this street and incorporate it into the park. That's one thing. But we heard it from that neighborhood as well. So we had the folks that live in this house here and their neighbors come out. And we still heard that from them, that they didn't feel that that was going to impact them too much because this is a grid neighborhood. So you can still get around, without having to use Hoops Avenue. And so we've incorporated closing that street into the design. Here's why I say those survey responses were really important. So 29% of the respondents lived within a half mile of this park. 34% lived within a mile, so almost half, and then most everybody lived within 5 miles. But we had a really high survey response rate from people that live in that neighborhood, essentially. And it did get around when we did the public engagement at the park. We left this is a door hanger on every house that's within 3 blocks with a QR code to the survey. So we were purposeful in that. We wanted to make sure that that neighborhood had their voice heard. And then when we asked the question in person and online, what amenities do you want at Old Town Park, we saw pretty overwhelmingly, we gave them a lot of inspirational elements for them to decide that they wanted. And we saw play elements, shade structures, places that cool, and trail connections were the most important things to them. That's kind of highlighting that again. Really what this shows is at the top there, they really wanted a place to play, but also to relax. And that was pretty overwhelmingly the idea. We also asked, how can the existing water tower be reimagined? And again, I said, a lot of people really care about this water tower. They want to keep it the same. And you'll see the second there, that pink is light installation. And we had a pretty quick win there because it's already lit. We did that last year. So here's some of our design inspirations. Again, we're trying to think outside the box on this. We really want to make this park iconic, just like the water tower is. So not thinking about just your traditional park spaces.
If I leave the door open, my cold air would go out, right?
It's gonna freeze the people out there.
Maybe. Well, it's closed out there.
You can leave it open.
And so our design team did a really incredible job of thinking about this in a really creative way. And so they wanted this park to be recreational. They wanted people to be able to relax. But they also wanted it to have some educational component and some connection to the water tower. So, and what they did with this design is they sort of made this a story of water in Pflugerville. So going from the right to the left, there's kind of visual representation of the origin of the water, which is the Colorado River to Lake Pflugerville, the pump stations and the kind of mechanics that get water to water towers for distribution, and then the capture of that water towards the left side of the screen. So utilizing rain gardens and sort of telling the story of the water process here in Pflugerville. And so we'll show how they did that. I really think the program diagram is good, but I think they've got some images on here that are going to be better to get through this process. So here's what the design actually looks like, and you kind of see still that inspiration where it's sort of the river and the lake, Lake Pflugerville, going into the water tower, and then they've got a lot of rain gardens here on this side. You will notice they extended this, so there's not going to be much parking here. We've got 1 acre, so you don't want to take any of this space away for parking. So what they did, this is a really wide street, so they actually extended some landscaping out here to create some parallel parking spots here. So they can help with access there a little bit. And then one of the things that we heard from council was that this design originally came here down Hoops and cut off here and went over to this property line. They wanted us to use this space a little bit more. So this entry plaza was actually an addition based on council feedback.
Just a funny note that was me in the picture at that bottom left. I recognize it.
This one?
On the bottom left, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that's Rainy Street, 70 Rainy, and I used to work at that company.
Wow.
That's, oh, what a small world.
I just
Yeah.
recognized the picture.
That's
Yeah.
hilarious. I'm definitely gonna have to tell them that. This was the map I was looking for to try to show you the property, and it's a blank slate for us currently. Yeah, we don't need that. Okay, so here's a bird's eye view of that, this design, and we'll get a little closer. So this is the garden. So this is when we were talking about the design on the left side. This is where they're kind of showcasing the capture of rain. There'll be a lot of pollinator gardens, native plants. And you will notice what they did here was they tried to maximize this space. Again, it's very small. And so they took that Trail Capital of Texas thing very seriously. And then we have got an elevated trail that goes around from the south side of the park to the north side of the park. So this is, as you go up that elevated walk, this is what you'll see under the water tower. Now keep in mind, and we've mentioned this throughout the process, this is a master plan, so this is not design. It's just a concept. But you'll notice instead of, sort of making a mockery of the water tower with the face and art like they had on the, if you saw the other stuff, they did a lot of subtle art that could be incorporated. We get some local artist or somebody to work on it. This one in particular, they've used somewhere and it refracts light. And so different times of the day, the ground underneath is a different color. But it's a lot more subtle. It's not in your face. It's not changing the water tower, what it looks like from the road, and what people love about it.
It's enhancing.
It's enhancing it, absolutely. Again, we had a lot of conversations about Peace Park, and if you remember that picture with the globe, they had this net system that you can go up in there and lay in. So once you get to the kind of peak of this walkway, there's a deck, so there's got some seating, and then they've got a net area where people can kind of relax and hang out. Underneath that is where a lot of the play value happens. So there's some like seating areas, there's some playscapes for kids, there's some nature play. This is a kind of more traditional playscape feature that you'd see on the side of a playground. And so they're trying to incorporate basically multi-generational play. So like I said, seating areas for adults to relax, and then some play areas for kids. And that's what it'll look like at night. And then on the north side of the park, they had a pavilion. And the idea is not necessarily so that this hosts large events or concerts or anything like that, because that's not what the neighborhood there wanted. But it's so that it can host reunions, birthday parties, things that build community, and also things that aren't so large that we don't have enough parking for it. And you can't see it, but off to the right, behind where this picture would be taken, there's a restroom attached to this.
Was that pavilion on the fee schedule? No? Okay.
No, and this would be constructed after the next fee schedule, after the next budget, so we'll have some time.
Yeah.
But we'll definitely reserve this for folks that, want to schedule something. It's always hard when you can't reserve it and you just try to get there first.
Yeah.
So you'll notice here there's a water feature. It's not a traditional splash pad. It's sort of what that picture earlier was of the kids playing in the water that's just kind of coming up from the ground. It doesn't have all of the kind of in-your-face colorful features. Again, it's trying to tell the story of sort of the origin of water, and it'll flow towards the distribution center, which is the water tower. And a lot of green space. That's what it'll look like at night. And they did a good job, I think, and they will, as design goes along. Like you'll notice, this is not a tall trail light. You want to brighten this up just enough for it to be safe, but you also don't want to impact neighbors too much. You don't want to have a light shining in their window.
I can't remember at some of the last meetings, did we talk about having informational signs along the way, what you just described, you know, this is what it does, et cetera, et cetera?
So,
What's the learning?
yes, I think as design, when we get into design, we'll go deeper into that. So we've discussed two ways of looking at it. One is we tell you what it is, and we say what the inspiration is. And the other is we find some creative ways for that to be discovered. So, so you
Got some ideas.
you get there
augmented
and you have to,
reality kind of,
maybe
yeah.
the fifth time you get there, you discover something about the design of this park you didn't see the first time.
Yeah.
And I think there's some ways we can do that. We also can, as we go through design, there'll be some other opportunities for engagement. We can just tell people what the inspiration is and let it be an educational opportunity too. Those are kind of the two thought processes we'll go through during design. And so there's that bird's eye view again. This is just a highlight of that road diet. So like you said, there's, it doesn't have the number, 29 feet. It's a pretty wide residential street. And it'll still be 2-lane. It won't be 1 lane going through here. 22-foot travel lane is more than enough distance for this. And so they essentially expanded the park out a little bit instead of having parking go into the park. And one thing I do want to note, and you saw it in all those photos, all of the programming are away. So it backs up to these houses back here, and then it backs up to those houses that are on hoops. All of the programming of this park, anything that people are hanging out in or playing in is away from that space. And they've also got some natural evergreen buffers between those houses and this park that will create that sort of distance from the neighbors. An idea as we go through this process is also connecting this park. So talking about the trail capital, there's no sidewalks, there's no trail that goes to this park. So that will be a part of this process, is making sure it connects to the existing trail system, which comes this way, but also connects to historic downtown and then downtown east. And with that, I'm sorry for you that have already heard this, but wanted to make sure we got all the information out there. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Can I make a comment? I don't have
Sure.
a question. I sat in just about every meeting that we had here on this particular subject, and I love the concept. I love the design. I love everything about it. I like the lights at the water tower. I'm glad they left it like we talked about. But the park itself, I think it's the wrong location. To me, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's my personal opinion. I love parks, don't get me wrong. I love parks, but at this location, the cost of this park is anywhere from $4 to $5 million to put that in. So that's just my, sitting through all the things that went on back in, November, December, January. So it's a lot of good design. I love it. I wish they would put this park somewhere else.
Sure. Yeah, and I think, the genesis of this was, this is a space that Sun Program, this neighborhood has Old Town Park and that's it. And we certainly can, I think Shane has said this, we certainly can go in and do a playground, replacement. And leave it at that. But council wanted to see something bigger and better. I will say this too, this is a concept. And so what we tried to say throughout the process is, obviously we don't want to build a $50 million park here. We want to keep budgets sort of somewhere in your mind, but we also want to think big in the master plan. This is just conceptual. When you get to design, that's when you look at, okay, how much money do we have? How much money do we want to spend here? And then let's make that happen. So City Council will still see this, P&Z will still see this. That feedback will certainly be a part of that conversation. We'll make sure that, matter of fact, TBG and BRS have made sure this can be a phased project, or it can be sort of a la carte. It can say, we really like this element. We don't quite want to do the full funding for this project. And if council decides, hey, this is great, what an awesome design, think this is too much, if they have the same opinion of that, this is going to be sort of piecemealed in the design process in terms of budget. So it doesn't have to be all or nothing. Like we've said, this is master plan concept.
I have to agree with Ray too, because I've considered especially the parking. Two things come up to mind is, you know, the biggest reason you tell people about the Round Rock Water Tower is because Round Rock Donuts is sitting right there.
Sure,
So
sure.
if we could get Round Rock Donuts in there.
Well, we have to be.
Pflugerville Donuts.
Pflugerville
Yeah.
Donuts. But the other thing that I've been
Funky
thinking
grannies.
about, and I talked to Shane about this, and you and I have talked about this too, is that on the north side of First United Methodist Church, we have land that backs up to the creek and the
Mhm.
trail goes right into. So eventually we will have the parking lot that's in front of the cotton gin.
Right.
We'll own that parking lot. Main Street will cut all the way through. So if you move that water tower right there and make that into a public park, city buys that land from us. We have naming rights to it. And then you have a reason to say that water tower's there because it connects that to downtown. And then you take Old Emmanuel Lutheran Bridge and move it over there too. So now you've got two things that point to
Yeah.
downtown east, and it connects the old with the new.
So just as a,
And by the way, my pastor went, oh yeah, we do that in a heartbeat.
did love that. Yeah, so we broached that conversation as well, the relocation of the water tower, and things can change. As of right now,
I mean, I know
There-
it's expensive. but-
yeah, council has no appetite for moving the water tower currently. You can never say never, obviously, but.
And the reasoning was because of the history and the
I think-
iconic.
I think that, honestly, I think that more than cost
Yeah.
is that's where it has always been. Let's try to keep it there and do something special there.
Can you go back a slide to the kind of the trail connections there?
Mhm.
Because this is kind of what I was curious about. I've been to this park before, and again, only because it's like a detour on the way back. I'm like, it's daycare, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
on the way to someplace else.
You saw the
well,
water
you
tower.
know, going
Stop
to go
somewhere,
to
yeah.
look at the water tower up close, and I was like, oh, there's a
Yeah.
park here. We got out there, just like,
Yeah.
very tiny
Yeah.
park. And I was like, when I heard about this initially, we talked about this in a previous meeting. And I was very excited about it. I think it looks amazing.
It does,
Um,
it is.
And I think as far as the trail connection goes, because one of the main things I love about Pflugerville is, again, the biking. I'm biking distance to downtown, and I can get around all here. And the trail that would go, basically, I see it kind of going across Pecan, but how like accessible from downtown would this really be? Like
This year?
with downtown east, kind of expanding, and I know there's additional like historic downtown improvements.
Yeah, so there's a trail. Is this line accurate, Junior? You're gonna have to tell me.
Yeah, that's-
Yeah, so there's a
that's
trail.
the-
There's a
that's
trail
the-
here. Obviously, there's the sidewalks here. So it's 2 blocks from, well, 3 because this is an additional block. 3 blocks from historic downtown.
Yeah.
You'd have to walk on the street currently.
Mhm.
So the idea, not necessarily a part of the scope of this project specifically, but in some of our sidewalk projects is creating a sidewalk here along the street. And then there's an alleyway that's city property that goes through here. And so creating a trail connection from this park to this trail as well. So that it's connected to the north and connected to the east.
And is that the trail that kind of runs like behind their, like adjacent to the fire station? Kind of
Yeah.
That's the one, along the railroad route.
It's
Yeah.
Fairways Trail.
Gotcha.
So crossing Pecan Street as a pedestrian.
Right, that's the big.
And that was a
Which-
conversation.
Put a bridge over it.
Yeah, and that was a conversation that had been had, I think with council, about, if a connection, if you want a connection here, something's gonna have to slow traffic there.
Yeah.
There's no stoplight, so potentially putting a pedestrian crossing along Pecan
Yeah,
there.
I had the same thoughts kind of as Christian, but a little bit broader, not just how do you get there, but how do we make people who come to historic downtown
Want to
aware
go
that this
Wanna
is
go
an
there?
extension
Yeah.
of it?
Yeah, so part of that is, along our trail systems, we're currently working on a wayfinding, we've done some wayfinding, trail wayfinding, plans where we've got what that trail sign should look like and what wayfinding signs should look like. We don't have locations, so we've got a landscape architect firm currently working on an actual plan for getting those signs out into the system. I think that would probably incorporate some of downtown, or another department within the city would incorporate some of our wayfinding in downtown to say, Old Town Park and Historic Water Tower this way, I think that's really the only way that you can do it for
Because if
visitors.
I-
Put it
if
in a
come-
map and you give it to the Chamber of
Well,
Commerce
and that as
they
well.
hand it
Yeah,
out.
right.
Yeah,
So
you
if I
got-
come
you've
to
got
say
do that.
Pecan
But it-
Street Collective, which is not a city event,
Right.
but I'm gonna be right there for its first
Yep.
and
Yeah.
pecan, hey,
Yeah, I
this is a
mean,
cool thing that we ought to
There's
go see
currently
while
no
we're here.
signage because there's really nothing here.
Right.
You know,
I know.
and if this gets programmed differently, we're not gonna send our visitors to Old Town Park.
Right.
Not right
Got
now.
it.
We love
Okay.
all of our parks,
All right, so
not
that's a,
necessarily equally.
all right, so making people
So
aware
we're not
it's a
sending
later,
our
later
visitors.
phase of all this. Right.
So for not sending our visitors there, which eliminates tourism,
No, I'm saying we're not sending them there currently.
No.
We
We
would
will-
want to
we
if
will want-
something happens there.
okay. Yeah, that boggled my mind when you just said that.
No. Yeah, we want our visitors to come here.
You
We wanna
can't
make
see
it
it.
easier.
Don't look.
What,
Don't go
what
there.
are you spending this
Yeah.
money on?
I think they are welcome to go to the water tower now. They're not gonna see much.
Right.
They'll see the small playground that's
They'll see
there.
the small playground. It's shaded though.
And that's one thing that they ought to put a playground like the one at Central Park, for example. Get rid of that old playground, keep the water tower lit like it is, and I'm good
Okay,
with
so I
that.
have a claim to fame, because when I first moved here on that West Newton, I lived in the condos owned by Audrey Deering. And my son, who some of you probably knew, ran Spirit of Texas Distillery, Michael Hershey. He climbed that water tower when he was about 10.
I saw him on What's Eating Gilbert Grape.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
gonna make sure, that was a question of council was, from council was, is there anything out there currently that prevents that, and would we do something? And I think if we're gonna put something around there, we will. We will make sure there's no one hanging from those art installations.
But you do bring up the Gilbert Grape thing, because the house that we're there, there's filmed, you know, we did have some iconic things that need to be out there for tourism too, so.
Any other comments about this?
As far as timeline goes, so say council approves a master plan, like what's the actual timeline for like when, we're talking like, breaking ground potentially?
Sure, so we've gotta go through the design process. It's in our CIP to start design next fiscal year. For a project like this, and it will depend on what the scope of the project actually is. Again, this is a master plan, this is everything incorporated into that. Design could be anywhere from 6 to 12 months, depending on what that is.
And that could change, I mean, again, the design we saw is just a concept, so
It's a
like,
concept.
because again, I agree that playground doesn't even upgrade, and I really like the idea of expanding that footprint to encompass like, some areas. Right now, it's just, I've walked over underneath that water tower, it's cool to look at, but it's just kind of a field, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty dry.
I mean, approval on this would constitute plans to move forward, not exactly this design.
Right, we do, so for any kind of large or important park development, park expansion, it'll typically have a park-specific master plan. So we've got our large master plans for our entire department and our trail system. But we also have, there's a master plan for 1849 Park that we're still working off of. There's a master plan for Lake Pflugerville. And at this point, 1849 and Lake Pflugerville, those master plans are fairly old. And so we're using those as concepts, but once we get into design, there's gonna be a lot of differences based on what community needs
Yeah,
are
those
now.
aren't the blueprints. it's just the
And
concept.
so, yeah, you do a master plan like this, this is not mean that's how it's getting built and that's how it's getting designed. This is the concept so that we have something to build off of. We did the engagement, we heard what people wanted. Again, if it's a lesser version of what you see here, at least we're gonna take that public engagement and utilize that for what people do wanna see here.
I just want to know how much I need to pay Emily for that sweater she's wearing right now. Is it rentable? No, I think it's exciting. I like the concept. I agree with Ray. I think, there's some other places, but
Yeah,
city council gets what city council wants.
it seems like it wants to be iconic, but it feels
Yeah.
like a wrong place for it. Like, the parks that they're comparing it to are like major parks in the central,
Right,
and it just seems like a neighborhood park, so.
yeah. Because we still struggle with our identity.
What is the like proposed or like potential cost for moving the water tower?
I
And the
don't
bridge for
know
that
the
matter?
answer to that. For moving it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure specifically.
Sounds like council didn't even get to
I-
that stage of.
Doubt they did, because
Yeah.
I just put that out there about 3 months ago.
All right.
Didn't talk to the right people.
Any other comments? Do you have a motion to approve item 5B, Old Town Park Master Plan?
A motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Aye, myself.
You have a nay. You have a
Nay,
nay.
nay, nay. So what do we have, 3, 4, 4, 1 against?
6 of us. 5 of us.
5?
I'll
Five,
meet with,
okay.
I'll meet with you.
Okay.
So 2 nays.
4-2?
Motion carries. Okay, next item. 5C, discuss and consider action to approve the commissioning of Nessie, a sculpture by Jesse Brewer.
Thank you.
We like Nessie. I think I've seen him out there at
Have
Lake
you seen-
Lure.
Have you already seen this?
Oh, I think I have, once or twice.
Right.
I saw the video, whoever took that on,
Oh, multiple videos,
Well
yeah.
familiar with Nessie, not your Nessie.
Yeah.
not yet.
Alrighty. Well, this particular sculpture is designed by Jeffy Brewer, specific for Pflugerville in this context. The proposed location would be at the northeast side of Lake Pflugerville, so generally in proximity to the popsicle sculpture and the
Yeah, yeah.
beach.
Got it, yeah.
This is kind of a very brief artist statement. We tried to get you a view of what it would look like from the beach, or excuse me, with the beach in the background. So this particular concept is about 8 feet high and approximately 15 feet in length. It does have some of that interaction component with this.
In
So,
terms of like kids climbing on it, that
Oh,
type of- that type of
no,
interaction?
I will never recommend climbing on any sculpture, but they can stick their
Good
head
luck.
like in the middle of that
Good
little
luck.
circle for picture taking.
Remember, my son climbed the water tower there.
I was thinking exactly, it looks like something a kid would play on.
I
know,
agree.
It looks very playful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know the popsicle sticks, which are close by, they have a sign, do not climb
Yes,
on there.
uh-huh.
But kids are still climbing it.
oh yes, I
Yeah.
see it. It makes my eye twitch every time.
You just make it look scarier and then they'll run away.
Yeah, just make it frowning and
Yeah, no happy face.
Yeah.
Yeah, lasso.
So yeah, this is the concept. I believe last time there was some feedback pertaining to the desire to have more kind of interactive pieces or ones that the kids would enjoy more. So I believe this might tie in with that. I do believe Nessie will probably be fairly popular based off of some of our communication and campaigns that we've had around it.
Ray will be there.
Yeah.
What was that? Okay. Do you have any questions or comments?
What material is it made of?
It is made of stainless steel. It's anticipated to last 50+ years. That's not necessarily the powder coating that comes with it. So powder coating, it'll probably need some maintenance over time.
So
And-
the width is 6 to 8 inches, right? So it's a skinny one.
Right, so
Okay,
the Nessie will be about 6 to 8 inches, and then there's going to be some waves that are right below it on either side.
And
That was my
called you
question.
Emily a while ago, I'm sorry.
Oh, no
Sorry,
worries. I
Erin.
get that all the time.
Sorry.
And April.
So this is gonna be the same on both sides? The face is gonna be on the same, or what's on the other side?
Yeah, so essentially what will happen is from this view, you'll see 2 waves. And then on the other side, I think there was a question that kind of came up in the design process. Do we want waves on both sides so that you can take pictures from both sides, even though this is the most desired picture taking orientation. But yeah, that is an option. If you prefer that there's only 2 waves on this one side that's on the opposite side of the lake, then we can remove those 2 waves. But this is to make it so that you can take it pictures from either side.
And that's where the color scheme though, will be more like any detail or like, or is it just kind of that straight turquoise color?
Yeah, so with this particular one, there are 3 colors that are anticipated. This color is called Tropical Breeze for the Nessie, the actual
like
Nessie
it.
character. And then you'll have a darker turquoise and then a lighter blue as well for the wave.
What's the history of the Nessie character? I know she comes up on the websites for the chat bot and all that, but what's the tie-in at all to Pflugerville, or is there?
It was, so it was a couple years ago, our communications department did a campaign about Nessie, and it was a way to introduce all the different departments and how the city functions. And so it was an introduction. And so you'll actually see out the lake, you'll see Nessie crossings too, little signage out there. So yeah, I
You'll
think,
have a sign that says who I am and what it is. And
Yeah.
how it connects to the website.
so yeah, this is kind of tying in with that, a little bit of Pflugerville folklore.
And what's the cost?
The cost is, it's approximately $41,500. There is an option with that particular amount to include a type of powder coating that is also anti-graffiti. It's resistant.
For the same cost included in it, yeah.
Yeah, there's that option. So if we don't choose the
Oh, yeah.
anti-graffiti coating, which we're kind of leaning toward,
I was gonna say, why would you not?
it's a new product.
Okay.
It's not the type of anti-graffiti coating that we use on murals. It's an actual powder coat, so it's baked in. And so the artist is actually using that product on another project. And so in the fabrication process, if they feel as though it is a great product to move forward
Yeah,
with,
so
they'll make that
little testing going
recommendation.
on. Yeah.
But yes, we're leaning to the anti-graffiti coating.
You're leaning to adding, using. I didn't catch that.
Yeah, it's just better safe than sorry.
Okay, so Erin, here comes my grandmother stuff going on. Okay, so I'm looking at the tail, okay?
Okay.
The tail, according to that, is probably approximately 4 feet high at its apex, and it's only about 6 inches wide. And it's about as sharp as I would ever not want my 4-foot-tall kid to be able to climb onto.
Yeah, so
I mean, there's
Uh,
gotta be more than a sign that says, "Do not climb."
So-
That's just begging for kids to climb on, in my opinion.
yeah. So we have seen this artist's work. They have their work throughout the United States, and they make sure that all of their edges are very smooth. So the fabrication process is
Yeah,
very
I feel like
professional.
okay.
I can also make, I can speak with the artist to make sure that tail has more attention paid
Yeah.
to it.
Even a ball on it.
And some rounding, pointed.
Yeah, I mean, all of
poodle
it's
ball.
gonna have to meet very strict specifications on rounding.
They had wild kids. Michael, like I said, Michael climbed on the water tower. You could find anything to climb on. You know, so-
Yeah.
Yeah, but now he gets to say he did that forever.
Now he gets to hear his mom say, "Guess what I said at the meeting about you tonight?"
Keep them away from Nessie.
Yeah, keep his son away from this.
Can you maybe
I was
look-
gonna say that stainless steel's gonna be an influence for kids not climbing on it most of the
heat.
summer.
Yes. That's a good point. Do not touch, you might burn your hand.
Can you remember the cost of the previous sculptures we discussed, like roughly? Just how
Sure.
it compares.
Yeah. So the kinetic bike sculpture, that was $16,500. You have the 2 limestone sculptural benches. Those were $10,000 a piece, and it was kind of a joint price, so $2,400 with delivery and insurance. Let's see. We also have the bronze. So the popsicle, I think, was about 18,000. That's been a while, so don't don't quote me on that one. The bronze sculptures, so you have the little smaller bobcat.
Roxy.
That was about 7,250, somewhere in there. And then
Library
we have,
sculptures.
so the
You don't
The-
give me all
so-
this. If you
yeah,
remember
so
all
I-
of them, great, but no
yeah,
worries, she
so
does.
the Roxy sculpture, that was 17,000.
Oh, Smitten was the Bobcat.
Bobcat, yeah. Those are the recent ones.
So this is substantially more than those, but I really think given the location, it's gonna become iconic very quickly.
Yeah, we're gonna see a lot of, during the summertime,
Yeah.
or right now, you see a lot of pictures being taken right there.
The location of Nessie, with the Lake Pflugerville master plan, is the beach expansion gonna
It's the
impact
other,
that?
it's the other direction.
It's going the other way,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, there's nothing planned for this space.
That's what I was gonna ask.
Okay.
I do, I have things planned.
Well, yeah.
Oh.
And
More
price wise,
stuff.
is that just, I mean, again, I think size wise, it's substantially bigger than
Mhm.
the previous sculptures we approved.
Yeah.
So I assume that's,
So the biggest cost is the actual steel.
Still, stainless steel.
So I realize when you say I have plans, that's just your ideas. And that's
Yeah,
not officially speaking for the city, but
Right.
what would you envision for that area?
So let me go back to the map. So we do have two of the sculptures. I think there may be some opportunity to create more kind of winding paths
Make it sculpture
that may
garden.
have more sculptures there. But I will,
Okay.
sorry. I'm freezing here and I'm trying to put it underneath. Yeah, so I'll kind of defer to Jeff's team on how they'd like to design that. But
That's a weird little area there. Yeah.
it is, and there's definitely some opportunities for some walking paths or vegetation, stuff like that. But yeah, this area was a clear zone that wasn't necessarily designed on the master
Yeah,
plan.
I can see where you could do some pretty
Yep,
small scale stuff to make that little area more enticing, get people out onto it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, everything on that phase is north of that beach right there, northeast of that beach, and then west.
Cool.
Cool.
Do we have let's see, that was item 5C, right? Do we have a motion to approve item 5C, commissioning of Nessie, located at Lake Pflugerville? Do we have a motion? to
I'll make a
approve?
motion to approve the commissioning of Nessie at Lake Pflugerville.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Nice, thank you. Get warm.
I know, I keep on shaking.
Thanks, Aaron.
There we go.
Wow, look at that, item 6. Any discussion on this one?
We can talk about it for a while.
Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting so everybody can get warm?
Yeah.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Oh, I move that we adjourn.
Do we have a second? All in favor, say aye.
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 And I apologize for being late.